The roar of the crowd hit me like a sucker punch before the actual hit landed. Thousands of voices in Madison Square Garden chanting my name, Jax, 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 as if they could will my fists to fly faster. But then his glove cracked against my jaw, a thunderclap that split the world in two, and blood, hot, metallic, poured from my split lip, tasting like regret and every secret we'd buried under the sheets. In that frozen heartbeat, across the ring, Ethan locked eyes with me, his whisper lost in the chaos but clear as a confession. Walk away, Jax. This isn't you anymore. Couldn't. Not when everything we'd built. Nights tangled in his Brooklyn walk-up, promises whispered over stolen diner coffee, hung on this one fight, this one chance to prove I was more than the kid from the wrong side of the tracks. The bell rang again, and I charged, but deep down I knew. The real knockout had come months ago, the night he chose silence over us. That fight in the garden was supposed to be my redemption arc, the kind of story that gets scripted into those gritty American underdog flicks. Blue-collar boxer claws his way to glory, fists flying for family, fame, or some forgotten dream. But life doesn't follow a three-act structure. It bleeds messy, leaves you staggering in the dim-lit corners of your own heart. My name's Jax Harlan, 28 years old, born in the Rust Belt shadow of Pittsburgh, but forged in the fire of New York's underground rings. I'd been scrapping since I was 15, dodging my old man's belt and the ghosts of a mom who left when the chemo bills piled too high. Boxing wasn't just a sport. It was survival, the one place where pain had a point, where every bruise bought you a shot at tomorrow. Ethan came into my life like a left hook I never saw coming. Sharp, disorienting. But God, did it feel right. We met 2 years back at Gleason's gym in Dumbo, that sweat-soaked cathedral of heavy bags and heavier dreams where fighters like us traded jabs and life stories between rounds. He was the trainer everyone whispered about. Ex-pro from Philly, mid-30s with a jawline that could cut glass and eyes like storm clouds over the Hudson. Gray, piercing, pulling you under before you even realized you were swimming. Ethan the Anchor Riley, they called him. Not for his steady hands in the ring, but because once he latched onto a fighter, he didn't let go. Or so the rumor went. I was shadowboxing that afternoon, frustration boiling after a string of losses that had promoters dropping me like yesterday's headlines. My promoter, Vinny the Shark Russo, a slick-haired Italian from Little Italy with a gold chain thicker than his moral compass, had been riding me hard. You fight like a lover? Kid. Not a killer. He'd snarled over pastrami sandwiches at Katz's Deli. Soft. Need to harden up or you're done. I was proving him right, my hooks glancing off pads like half-hearted apologies. That's when Ethan stepped in, gloves on, mirroring my stance with a grin that said he saw right through the bullshit. Loosen your shoulders, Harlan, he said, voice low and gravelly, like he'd smoked too many Marlboros chasing winds in smoke-filled arenas. You're telegraphing every punch like it's a love letter. Box like you mean it, or don't box at all. I swung wild, testing him, and he slipped it effortless, countering with a tap to my ribs that stole my breath. We went 3 rounds like that, dancing in the ring's faded ropes, sweat mingling in the humid air thick with liniment and ambition. By the end, I was hooked on the burn in my muscles, yeah, but mostly on him, the way his tank top clung to the ridges of his abs, scarred from his own wars, or how he'd laugh short and real when I landed a clean shot. Not bad, Pittsburgh, he'd say, tossing me a water bottle. But you've got heart in your fists. Don't waste it. We started training together after that. Late nights when the gym emptied out, just the hum of fluorescent lights and the thwack of gloves on pads. He'd wrap my hands with those calloused fingers, lingering a beat too long, and I'd catch him watching me in the mirror, not as a coach, but as a man seeing another man. New York has a way of blurring those lines. In a city that never sleeps, neither do secrets. One humid July evening, after I'd dropped him with a combo that surprised us both, he pulled me close in the ring's center, breaths ragged, and kissed me. Fierce, no preamble, like he'd been holding back a lifetime of rounds. It was electric, that first taste of him. Salt and want, his stubble scraping mine as the world narrowed to the press of his body against the ropes. Fuck, Jax, he murmured against my mouth, hands fisting my shirt. I've been waiting for you to hit like that. We didn't stop until the janitor banged on the door, hollering about closing time. From there, it snowballed stolen weekends in his cramped apartment overlooking the East River, where we'd collapse after sparring sessions, bodies entwined on threadbare sheets that smelled of him. Leather and laundry soap. He'd traced the tattoos snaking up my arms, the faded eagle from my army days, the rosary beads for Mom, and tell me stories of his own ghosts. A dad who drank himself into an early grave, a pro career derailed by a dirty fix in Atlantic City. You're my anchor now, I'd whisper in the dark, his head on my chest, the city lights flickering like distant fireflies, and he was grounding me when the losses piled up, pushing me toward that garden shot with Vinny's reluctant blessing. Ethan believed in me when I didn't, saw the champion buried under the scars. But love in the fight game is a fragile thing, laced with the same volatility as a bad weigh-in. You give everything, hold nothing back, and pray the ref doesn't call foul. The cracks started small, hairline fractures you ignore until the whole damn thing shatters. It was late fall, leaves turning the parks along the Hudson into a blaze of red and gold, when Vinny dropped the bomb over eggs at a greasy spoon in Hell's Kitchen. Your boy's got history, Jax, he said, forking into his home fries like it was just shop talk. Ethan Riley? Word is, he tanked a fight back in 15, threw it for a payout from some Jersey bookies. Cost his gym everything. You sure you want that shadow in your corner? I laughed it off, heat rising in my chest like pre-fight nerves. Bullshit, Vin. Ethan's clean. He'd never. But the seed was planted, doubt worming its way in like a slow jab to the gut. That night, I confronted him over takeout lo mein on his fire escape, the skyline twinkling indifferently below. Vinny's talking crap about you, I said. Chopsticks paused midair. Says you fixed a fight. Tell me it's lies. His face tightened, that storm in his eyes brewing dark. He set his bowl down, slow, like he was measuring a counterpunch. It's old news, Jax. Yeah, I did it once. Desperate times. Dad's medical bills after the cancer hit, and the promoters stiffed me on a purse. I took the dive to keep the lights on. He reached for my hand, thumb brushing my knuckles. But that's behind us. I'm clean now. For you. The confession hung there, heavy as the river fog rolling in. I wanted to believe him, did believe him, in the way you cling to a love that's the only good thing in a life of uppercuts. We made up fierce that night, bodies crashing together in a tangle of forgiveness and fear, his whispers promising forever against my skin. But trust, once chipped, doesn't mend clean. I started noticing things. The way he'd glance at his phone during training, thumb hovering over unanswered texts. The late, client meetings that left him smelling of cheap cologne that wasn't his. And Vinny kept needling, his shark grin widening. Just saying, kid, keep your eyes open. Love's blind, but bets ain't. Winter clamped down on the city like a vice, snow blanketing the streets in a hush that amplified every unspoken word between us. Training ramped up, double sessions at Gleason's, roadwork at dawn through Central Park's frosted paths, where my breath puffed white and Ethan's encouragement echoed like a lifeline. You're peaking, Jax, he'd say, spotting me on the heavy bag, his presence a steady rhythm to my frenzy. This garden fight? It's yours. Prove 'em all wrong. I was peaking, yeah, sparring sharper, dropping sparring partners with combos that had the gym erupting in whoops. But off the mats, the paranoia gnawed. One blizzard night, after a grueling session, I tailed him from the gym, stupid, I know, but the doubt was a demon I couldn't KO. He ducked into a dive bar in Williamsburg, neon sign flickering Lucky's over fogged windows. Heart hammering, I slipped in after, hood up against the cold, and there he was in a back booth. Ethan, laughing low with a guy I recognized from fight posters, Rico the Viper Santos, a middleweight with a rep for dirty tricks and dirtier debts. They were huddled close, heads bent over napkins scribbled with numbers. Ethan's hand on Rico's arm in a gesture too familiar. My stomach twisted, bile rising sharp. Was this it? The betrayal Vinny warned about? Ethan feeding intel, setting me up for a fall? I bolted before they spotted me, pounding the icy pavement back to my sublet in Bushwick, the city a blur of salt-sprayed cars and regret. He showed up at my door at 2 a.m., snow-dusted and desperate, pounding until I yanked it open. "What the hell, Jax?" His voice cracked, eyes wild. "Saw you at Lucky's. You think?" "I think you're playing me." I spat, chest heaving. "Rico? Really? After everything?" He pushed inside, slamming the door, the room shrinking around us. "It's not what you think. Rico's in deep with bookies, the same ones from my past. He came to me for advice, Jax. Clean advice. I'm trying to pull him out before he drowns like I almost did." He grabbed my shoulders, grip fierce. "You have to trust me. We're in this together." I wanted to, God. I did. But the words stuck, thorns in my throat. We argued until dawn, voices raw, ending in a fragile truce sealed with a kiss that tasted of salt and second chances. "No more secrets," I murmured, forehead to his. "Promise." "Promise?" he echoed. But his eyes held a shadow, something unspoken lurking like a feint I couldn't read. As the garden fight loomed, title eliminator against Marco, the Blade Delgado, a Cuban import with hands like hammers and a grudge from our last clash in Vegas. The pressure mounted like a swelling hematoma. Vinny was ecstatic, parading me through press junkets at steakhouses in Midtown, where reporters grilled me on my comeback story and the mystery trainer in my corner. Ethan stayed low-key, but the tabloids sniffed him out. Harlan's secret weapon. Philly's fallen star? Headlines that twisted his past into clickbait, painting him as the villain in my hero's tale. It ate at him, I could see it. The way he'd withdraw after readings, nursing a beer on the couch while I paced, hyped on adrenaline and Adderall-laced energy drinks. "They're wolves, I'd say, dropping beside him, hand on his thigh. "Don't let 'em howl you down." One night, post-spar, we escaped to the High Line. Those elevated tracks turned park, strung with lights like fallen stars against the winter sky. Bundled in scarves and shared warmth, we walked the length, his arm around my waist, the city humming below. "Remember our first real date?" he asked, stopping at a railing overlooking the Hudson's black ribbon. "Coney Island, summer. You won me that stupid stuffed bear at the ring toss." I laughed, the sound echoing soft. "You mean the one you named Champ and still sleep with?" Leaning in, I kissed him slow, the world fading to just us. Two fighters stealing peace in a war zone of whispers. "I love you, Jax," he said then, voice thick, pulling back to search my face. "More than the ring, more than any win. Whatever happens in there, know that." The weight of it lingered, a premonition I shook off like sweat from a glove. But in the quiet hours, alone with my thoughts, the doubts circled. Was this his goodbye? A warning wrapped in romance? Fight week hit like a freight train. Media scrums at the MGM Grand for the weigh-in, Vegas detour before Garden, where Marco and I squared off shirtless, veins popping, stares promising violence. He was a beast, 6 feet 2 inches of coiled menace, tattoos of saints and serpents inking his chest. But I matched him glare for glare, Ethan's voice in my ear. "Own the mind before the body." Vinny hovered, schmoozing sponsors, but it was Ethan's steady hand on my back that kept me grounded. Back in New York, the final days blurred. Pasta loads at Carmine's, visualization sessions in Ethan's apartment where he'd talk me through rounds, his touch mapping my strategy like a lover's chart. But the night before the fight, it all unraveled. I couldn't sleep, nerves jangling like loose change. So I slipped out for a run along the waterfront, the pre-dawn chill biting deep. That's when I saw it. Ethan's phone, left charging on the kitchen counter, buzzing with a text that lit the screen like a flare. From our deal set, Delgado takes the third. "Your cut's wired. Don't fuck this up. Owe you for pulling me out last time." My world tilted, the words searing like acid. Rico, the fix. Ethan wasn't saving him. He was in it, deep, betting against me for a payout that could bury our debts forever. Betrayal hit harder than any hook. The man who'd anchored me, who'd kissed me under Coney's fireworks, selling me out for ghosts of his past. I pocketed the phone, rage boiling, and ghosted into the night, pounding pavement until my lungs burned raw. By morning, I was a ghost myself, hollow-eyed at the arena, Vinny mistaking my fire for focus. "That's my boy," he crowed, slapping my back as I taped up in the locker room. Ethan arrived last, face ashen when he saw me, the missing phone a silent accusation. "Jax, we need to save it," I hissed, yanking my robe on. "I know, Eth. I know." His eyes shattered, regret, love, desperation crashing like waves. "It wasn't supposed to." Rico cornered me. "The bookies, they're on him, on us if I didn't. Your mom's old debts, the gym fees." "Lies," I snarled, but God, it stung true. We'd talked those burdens in whispers, how they'd chained him. Still, this, "You could have come to me." I was going to after. One last dirty win to clean the slate. He stepped close, voice breaking. "Walk away, Jax. Forfeit. We start over." The warning hung, a lifeline I couldn't grab. The announcer boomed my entrance. Lights blinding. Eye of the tiger thumping as I strode the aisle. Crowd a sea of signs and screams. Ethan in my corner, face a mask, but his eyes pleaded. "Please." Round one was fire. Me charging, fury fueling hooks that rocked Marco back. His guard cracking under my storm. Blood already trickled from his brow, but mine was the deeper cut. Ethan's gaze burning from the apron. "Easy, champ," he called, but it rang hollow. Round two, Marco countered, his blade-sharp jabs slicing air, one grazing my cheek. I tasted copper, saw stars, but pressed on, landing a body shot that folded him. The ref separated us, and in that breath, Ethan leaned over the ropes. He's telegraphing the uppercut. Use it. Strategy or sabotage? Feeding me false hope? By round three, the fix unfolded like a nightmare scripted in sweat. Marco, who'd been tentative, exploded, combinations blurring, a right cross that spun me into the ropes. The crowd gasped as I slumped, vision tunneling, but I rose at 8, roaring back with a flurry that bloodied his nose. He was hurt, staggering. Wait, staggering too much? No, that was the act, the dive mirroring Ethan's old sin. But I didn't see it. I swung wild, overcommitting, and his counter. A vicious hook, landed flush. Lights out. The canvas rushed up, cool against my cheek, blood pooling warm. Through the haze, Ethan's voice pierced. "Yield, Jax. It's over." One last warning, raw with love and ruin. But I'd already lost, the game of trust, the fight for us. The ref waved it off, TKO, the bell tolling like a death knell. Marco's arms raised in victory, but as medics swarmed, Ethan vaulted the ropes, shoving through to kneel beside me, hands cradling my face. "I'm sorry," he choked, tears cutting tracks through sweat. "I love you. We fixed this." I coughed blood, staring up at the man who'd broken me most. "Too late," I rasped. But even as words left my lips, something shifted. Not forgiveness, not yet, but understanding. In the fight game's brutal arithmetic, we'd both been pawns. Him to debts, me to dreams. As they stretchered me out, his hand gripped mine, and in that grip, a spark, humanity's stubborn refusal to quit. The aftermath was a blur of hospital fluorescence and flashbulbs. Fractured orbital, sprained wrist, but the real damage was deeper, a heart contused by betrayal's bruise. Vinny spun it gold, Harlan's gallant stand, securing me a rematch clause, but the headlines feasted on the scandal. Ethan's past unearthed. Rico arrested in a bookie bust. The fix exposed like a cut man ripping tape. He vanished that night, leaving a note on my bedside table. "I'll wait. Fight for us. E." Months ground by in rehab's slow grind. Physical therapy in a sterile midtown clinic, where I'd shadowbox one-handed, staring at the skyline like it owed me answers. New York thawed into spring, cherry blossoms mocking my wilted resolve. But the city has a way of rebuilding you, brick by stubborn brick. I ghosted promoters, took a gig bartending at a queer dive in the village. Slippery slope, all vinyl booths and rainbow flags. Pouring drafts for fighters nursing losses and lovers mending hearts. There, amid the jukebox's twangy Springsteen, I started talking. To a therapist named Lena, sharp as a spar, who unpacked the rage I'd bottled since Pittsburgh. Betrayal's not the end, Jax, she'd say over coffee at a corner spot on Bleecker. It's the bell for round 2. What do you want your story to be? I didn't know, not then. Letters came from Ethan, postmarked Philly, scrawled on gym notepaper. Tales of coaching kids in a North Philly rec center, paying back old debts with clean wins, ending always with "I miss your fire." I read them in the dead of night, fingers tracing his script, torn between crumpling them and clutching close. Love, Lena said, is a choice, not a knockout. Summer baked the asphalt, and with it came the call. Rematch locked, Madison Square again, Marco willing for the purse. Vinny crowed triumph, but I trained solo. Gleason's ghosts too loud, Ethan's absence a hollow in the heavy bag's thud. I honed sharper, meaner, channeling the hurt into precision. Footwork like whispers, punches like truths long buried. Fight night crept up, electric with déjà vu. The garden's bowels humming, my reflection in the mirror a stranger's. Leaner, eyes harder, but alive with purpose. As I taped up, a knock soft, hesitant. Ethan stood there, older somehow, grayer at the temples, holding a single glove like an olive branch. I had to come, he said, voice rough. Not as your trainer, as me. I froze, the air thick. You broke us, How do I trust? You don't, he cut in, stepping close, the scent of him leather home, hitting like a memory. Not yet, but let me earn it. One round at a time. The crowd's roar pulled me under, but his words lingered, a counterweight to the chaos. I nodded, throat tight. Stay, but if you cross me, never again. His hand on my shoulder, steady as ever. The bell rang, and round 1 was poetry. Me dictating, Marco's blades glancing off my guard as I weaved, struck, retreated. Blood flowed early, his from a cut above the eye, mine a trickle from a split knuckle. Ethan's calls from the corner. Body! Now! Pure instinct, no agenda, and damn if it didn't click. By round 5, the tide turned. Marco gasped, his combos slowing, and I poured it on. A hook that buckled his knee, an uppercut that snapped his head back. The ref stopped it at 4:58. My arm raised in a shower of sweat and screams. Champion. Interim belt heavy around my waist. But the Real win was Ethan's face in the lights. Pride, relief, love unshadowed. We met in the ring's center, gloves off. His hug fierce amid the flash-belong flashes. I told you. I laughed, breathless. We're unbreakable. He pulled back, eyes shining. You are, and I'm here for all of it. The press conference was a circus. Microphones thrusting, questions flying. Harlan, that comeback, what fueled it? I glanced at Ethan in the wings, his quiet smile a beacon. Love, I said simple. The kind that breaks you open, then puts you back stronger. Human shit, you know? We're all just trying to go the distance. Life post-title wasn't fairy tale flawless. Scars don't fade. Trust rebuilds slow. We moved in together. A loft in Williamsburg with river views and room for 2 heavy bags. Ethan coaches part-time. I defend the belt twice a year. But the real fights happen at home. Over burnt toast and bedtime confessions. Learning each other's rhythms like a well-timed feint. We volunteer at the rec center, teaching kids from the projects that heart beats fists every time. Show him how to stand tall, love fierce, forgive when the bell tolls mercy. Some nights, as the skyline glitters like a promise kept, I trace the faded eagle on his arm. His ink, not mine, and think. We lost the game once, blood and all. But in the rematch of us, we won something bigger. Humanity's the greatest title. After all, no belt required. Just 2 souls willing to bleed for the long haul. And in America's endless ring, that's a victory worth every round.